So I went to the bookstore and I found this book with the very compelling title, Calling All Witches. So I had to get it. And when I saw the Wizarding World symbol there, I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's going to have some information from the website. But really it doesn't. It's based only on the films of Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts. So it includes only information from the movies. It is written by Laurie Calkhoven, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and illustrated by Violet Tobacco. And the illustrations are beautiful, that's one good thing, but it doesn't really have any interesting information. It's only based on the films. For example, on the page about Hermione Granger, it includes here the illustration of the otter, but the text doesn't mention that's the shape of her Patronus. It would have been an interesting tidbit to add. That's the shape her Patronus's charm takes. And then, because it only includes information from the films, from the movies, it doesn't even mention that one of her best one of her greatest achievements was solving Snape's potions puzzle or riddle. It doesn't mention it because it wasn't in the movies. So that's a bit disappointing to not mention. And then here again in this page about Ginny Weasley, I saw a horse, but there is no mention or explanation for the illustration. So at first I was thinking, well, was that her favorite animal? And no, I researched and it turns out that's the shape of her Patronus charm. That would have been interesting to mention in the text here. That would have been an interesting piece of information about Jeannie, but it's not mentioned. And then here we have a section about some of the witches on Harry's year. And we have Padma Patil here. Why is she wearing a red and yellow tie here? She's the twin that is in Ravenclaw, not in Gryffindor. And her sister is the one in Gryffindor. Parvati Patil. She is the one that was in Gryffindor. Parvati Patil, the one that went with Ron to the dance. Here it doesn't even mention that unlike her twin sister, she's in Ravenclaw. And it does mention one of her friends, Leanne, and that's the only mention of that witch in this book. You can find all other witches in the Harry Potter movies in this book, but not Leanne. She just got her name in there. I don't remember what house she was in, who she was friends with, what year. No mention at all. And then here in the page about the Gryffindor Quidditch players, the section about Angelina does not mention that she went to the Yule Ball with Fred. And again, because it does not mention anything that was not featured in the movies, as a reader, we don't get to learn that she eventually married George Weasley. So that's a bit disappointing. That would have been interesting to add. Again, it's only based on the movies. But if it's based on the movies and you want to recount all the times or the most important times that McGonagall broke the rules, then why not mention that she was the one that got Harry Potter his very first broom when first years were not allowed to have their own brooms. That is definitely one of the major rules she broke for Harry on his very first year, and it's not even mentioned. And that was in the movies. He got his Nimbus 2000 on his first year. That would have been interesting to include here. And apparently, we're not only afraid to say the name Voldemort, we're also afraid to spell it right. That just jumped at me from the page. I'm like, what is wrong there? It includes some of the villains as well. And of course, there's Bellatrix Lestrange somewhere here, where all the villains are. But one important fact that was not mentioned is that she was so close to Voldemort that she got the great privilege of hiding one of the Horcruxes, and that is not mentioned, and that was in the movie, because Harry Potter, Ron, and Hermione break into the bank to get that Hufflepuff cup from her vault. Again, there's an illustration, but it's not in the text. So we cannot just infer that from the illustration. All in all, it was a bit disappointing. It's just a rehashing of everything you saw in the movies. I cannot tell you how many times they mentioned the phrase Battle of Hogwarts. Apparently everybody and their grandmother was at the Battle of Hogwarts, because it's mentioned many, many times. And it omits some very important information that was included or could be inferred from the movies. On the plus side, it was only $15 here in the US, but you can probably get it much cheaper if you find a good offer. This is not a sponsored video, so feel free to support your local independent bookstore.